Okay, and welcome everybody. We are going to do the first episode of Kerbal Space Program. I've added a few mods just to make things look prettier. I think you got that. So one of the things I added was the environmental enhancement mod. I did that just because I thought Kerbin needed clouds, and Kerbin doesn't normally come with clouds in the vanilla, so I wanted that. I also added, some of the standard stuff like mech jeb and some things for just some appearance. One of the cool things I added, and you'll see later on, is something that actually causes, or actually vents that you can put on your spacecraft to make it look like it's venting out excess pressure from the fuel tanks. So we'll go ahead and get started here. One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to go over here to Mission Control, and we're going to look at what contracts we have. So launch our first vessel. We'll go ahead and take that one. And gather scientific data from Kerbin. Recover and transmit any science experiment data from Kerbin to achieve this goal. So we're going to go ahead and take that one too. Back out of there. So now we'll go into the vehicle assembly. Thank you. Actually, you know what, first? No, we'll start with here. So you need a command pod. And we are going to do that there. And then we're going to limit this all the way down, and I can't remember, do I start with parachutes? I do. So we'll put a parachute on there, and we're not going to go very high. We're just going to go high enough to be able to get our first contract done. So we'll move that down there, and we'll go ahead and launch. The first episode's usually pretty boring. It's just doing small science stuff and chasing things, or chasing around different sites to do science to get enough to actually get into orbit. So we may not make it. This is only going to be a very small. This is only going to be a very short stream, only about an hour or so. Hey, Farmer Dad, how you doing? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to launch Jebediah here. He's a very brave Kerbal. He's going to be the very first one that launches into space. He's probably going to be the first one to go into space, provided we don't kill him before then. And so we'll go ahead, and since this is a solid rocket booster, we don't have to worry about throttle or anything. We'll just hit the SAS so that way he doesn't go spinning out of control, and we'll take off. And you can see up here in the upper right, we have completed a few of our contracts. We launched our first vessel, and then we broke a bunch of different records to get us some more money and a little bit of science. So we'll go ahead and get rid of those, and we'll see. We'll go ahead and deploy our parachute, turn SAS off. And okay, our parachute's deployed. It's a good thing Jebediah didn't eat before he went on this, because that probably would not have ended well for him. A couple of the other mods I've added, I added chatter just so that way it adds a little bit more quote-unquote realism. You can hear them. You can hear their space command talking to them, and them talking back, if you understand Kerbin, which I don't. And then SAT-SCAN. SAT-SCAN I really like, because you can put up satellites in orbit that will scan different planets and tell you about different resources and biomes and all that fun stuff. But that's going to be a little bit down the road before we get there. You might see some graphical glitches. I'm not sure what's causing like that weird, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's going to be like a weird line, and I'm not sure what causes that, but not much I can do about it right now. I have to do some more research. And Jebediah is landed, and we'll actually have him do a crew report. And we'll transmit the data. Oh. Okay, fine, we'll do, and we'll keep the experiment, and we will recover the vessel. And then this is all the science we gathered. We got all of our parts back, so that's good. So this cost us very little, but we gained a lot. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go into research and development. We're going to get our basic rocketry, which is going to give us the swivel liquid fuel engine. I like this one because it allows me to have more maneuverability without having to worry about putting maneuverable fins and things like that on the rocket. It's pretty good at sea level, but it's actually better up in a vacuum. So sometimes I'll use this one to help me maneuver while I'm trying to get into orbit around a planet. The solid fuel booster, the hammer, I really like it. Really packs a punch. It doesn't burn for very long, but it really gets you up to where you need to be. And then we got ourselves a small fuel tank here, so we'll research that. And then the engineering, just so we can get some science and some communication. And the stack decoupler, we'll go ahead and get that one. Survivability. Yeah, we'll get that one too, just because it has something else for some science. And we're also going to get the general rocketry too. And our stability. So we'll go ahead and start with that. And we'll leave. And we will go to mission control again. Go to exploration. Part testing. Which ones do we want to do? So we'll take that one. Since we have the basic level for our mission control, we can only take two contracts. So we'll take those two right now, and we will leave the facility, and we'll build ourselves another one. So we'll pop that off there, and we're going to put the so actually, we had that right. We'll put that back on there. And we'll drop that all the way down. And then we'll throw something for science on, just so we can complete that. We'll take a temperature at ground level. And we don't need this because we're not going to go anywhere, and we will launch this. So we'll zoom in here, and we will log the temperature. We'll keep the experiment, and then we will run a test, and that should have given us even more. So we'll check. Yep, we tested our flea solid fuel booster. We gathered science. Okay, so we'll get rid of those, and we will recover the vessel. So we earned 2.4 science on that, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up over time. We got back everything that we needed for of our parts, and we got our astronaut back, so we're good there. So the next thing we're going to do is, didn't want to go in there, but might as well to get that pop-up out of the way. We're going to actually, as soon as we have a little bit more money, we're going to upgrade the tracking station. Because right now, the tracking station really doesn't do anything for us at this level. We need one more so that way we can actually kind of track where we're going when we reach outer orbit. Because otherwise, right now, we're just wily coyoting things. We're just strapping ourselves to large bottle rockets and flinging ourselves up towards the sky to see what happens. Which is entertaining, but doesn't bode well for Kerbal life. Alright, so next thing we're going to do actually is get rid of that, and we're going to leave. We're going to pick up a little bit more sciencey stuff. So we will pick up our basic science and our flight control, and don't need that right now. Electrics, we do want that though, and we will take this too. Okay, so we're actually going to build a probe to go into outer space, and then we'll go check out our contracts, see if there's anything our probe can do. If not, we'll still send it up into as high as we can, try and take some readings, see if we can't get some more science. So first thing we're going to want to do, we're going to want to find command and control, and we're going to want to put MechJeb on there. And then a small inline reaction wheel. That's going to help us turn a lot easier. And then we're going to want to find our couplers. We're going to throw a stacked coupler on the bottom of that. And then throw a couple of those on there with a Terrier engine. I took the Terrier engine because it's really bad at sea level, but it's better up in a vacuum. So I took that so that way when we try and leave the atmosphere, while it doesn't have a whole lot of thrust, it's very, very good on fuel. So we'll put that on there. Now, one of the things I need to watch for is right now I have the basic launch pad, so I'm only allowed 30 parts, which in the beginning you almost never reach 30 parts. The problem is the mass. You can only have 18 tons, which you can reach very quickly. So we have to be very careful about the weight that we're using. And then down here, the design checklist, it just shows the severity of things that you're missing. So right now I don't have any electric, I have stuff that requires an electric charge, but I don't have anything generated, and I don't have a short range antenna. Alright, so we'll go back to coupling again, and we'll throw another stack of coupler at the bottom there. And then we'll go back to fuel tanks. Now that's 2.5, that's 1.25. But it's the amount of fuel that they carry that's more important. That carries double the fuel. And it's about double the weight too. So we'll actually take these instead because I can put more of these and do a more fuel efficient engine. And then the engine I'm going to use is actually going to be, I think I'll use the swivel. We'll bring that up. Now ideally I would have a fairing over this for aerodynamic purposes, but I haven't researched those yet. And I want to look at my thrust to weight. So stage 3, which is this here, has a thrust to weight ratio of 2.78, which is not bad. I mean, it's anything over 1.5. I like, just because that means that I'm lifting more than what the spacecraft weighs. And then my first stage, which is this one up here, has a thrust to weight ratio of 3.35. Now these thrust to weight ratios will go up as we burn fuel because we'll be lighter, but we'll have the same amount of thrust. And then I'm going to probably add one more with just some bigger fuel tanks, just to give us a boost up there. So we will go to coupling again. We go to stack the coupler. And then our big fuel tanks. 2 of those. And then we'll look for our engine. And the Reliant engine. So now we're at 13.675 tons out of 18 tons. Which is good because this is pretty much all done. Now we're just going to add some science stuff. Add some solar panels, which normally does not add too much weight. So we're going to put a barometer on there. Actually, we're going to put it back here. And we're going to put our thermometer back here. And our goo container right there. And then we need electrical. We'll do 2 solar panels, 1 on each side. And then we will do communication. We need, take that off. And we will zoom in here so we can place this just like that. Okay, so and down here it shows how much it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us 11,120 Kerbal bucks. We're going to look at the center of mass, which is not bad. It's a little low, but it's not bad. And then thrust, of course, is going to be down there, and aerodynamics we don't need to worry about. So we will rename this something simple. Probe 1. Oh, no. Probe 1. And I need you to go away for right now. We're going to save. We're going to go back to mission control. And we're going to accept that one. And we are going to... Hey Moondog, how you doing? We're going to look to see if there's anything we want to do for surveys. Now, a lot of the surveys I like to build planes to do, and the reason why is because they want a very specific spot on the planet at a very specific altitude. That's just not something you're going to get with a using a rocket. So when we get to the point where we're going to start building planes, that's when we'll start doing start working on those. I think we'll take that one because hopefully we will be on an escape trajectory. So we're going to go back. That should still be there. And we're going to launch this. Now I hope I didn't make this thing too tall to where when we start it just topples over and explodes into a ball of flames. If it does, well, it wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened to me. Alright, so we'll turn SAS on. We'll throttle all the way up. And let's make sure our staging is right. Decouple, engine, decouple, and then our engine, and then decouple again. Okay, so the first burn should be about at full throttle, about a 50-second burn. So we'll go ahead and take off. Now at about 100 meters per second is when I start to do my turn. Now, ideally I should be turning 90 degrees, turning to the heading of 90 degrees to allow myself to be able to get into an equatorial orbit. But we're not going to do that today because we're not actually going to get into orbit. What we're going to do is we're just going to work on escaping the atmosphere. See if we can't get a little bit of science. Are you going that way? I don't. Okay, and that is, so I consider this a failure, and the reason why is because the center of gravity was perfectly fine until we lost that bottom section. When we lost that bottom section, the wind resistance actually caused us to flip around. I was afraid that was going to happen. What is my little info? Alright, so we're actually just going to sit here and kind of spin wildly for a few seconds while we gain some altitude and get out of the atmosphere before we do our next stage. And the reason why is because the less atmosphere we have, the better off we're going to be with our... Alright, and we're at about 50,000. There we go. Now, in order to be considered having escaped the atmosphere, we have to be at a minimum of 70,000 feet, or 70,000 meters, or 7 kilometers. Okay, shut that down for a second. Actually, we might have enough fuel to get into some sort of orbit. We're going to go here and see when our apoapsis is 137,060 meters. Now, if anybody was looking for a professional playthrough, this is not the channel for you. Because I will bumble and fumble and my way all the way through this. I'll blow up Kerbals, I'll blow up spacecraft until I get it right. But luckily, Kerbals don't feel pain, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Alright, and we're about a minute from our apoapsis. Now, for those of you who don't know, the apoapsis is the highest point in your orbit. The periapsis is the lowest point in your orbit. So right now, our highest point is going to be 137 kilometers. Meanwhile, our periapsis is deep inside of the planet. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start our burn. So about 40 seconds. Now, if we get into some sort of orbit, that's great. If we don't, that's not what we were shooting for. Just keep adjusting and following this. Let's go ahead and do a full burn. Burn off the rest of that fuel, and whatever happens, happens. Okay, so we weren't exactly able to get into orbit. That's fine. All right, and we'll jettison that, and we're going to extend our antenna, and we're going to observe our mystery goo. Now, if I was able to recover this, I'd get 10 science. But since since this is going to burn back up in the atmosphere, I'm going to transmit, get 4.2. A little bit is better than nothing. Let's try and transmit that data again. Okay. Fine. We'll transmit that. Is it because I don't have enough electricity? That's why I don't have enough electricity. Electric charge. Probably should have put a couple of more solar panels on this, but didn't think I was going to need that much. Can't transmit that. So we'll go ahead and look around here while we're waiting for that to charge up. There's the moon. We'll be coming for the moon next. I will say that a lot of the mods for Kerbal Space Program are done really, really well. They really add something to the game, something that the game was missing, and I hope that which I doubt because there's mods for it, but I would like to see the developers maybe someday actually add like clouds and different things like that to Kerbal Space Program, so that way people who don't like mods can actually can get the full experience that those of us who do use mods get. Okay, well, that didn't... So we're not going to be able to transmit anything just because we don't have enough electrical charge. See, we only have 15 here. We need a lot more than that, so... What I should have done is add a battery or two, but batteries are heavy. Batteries take a lot of weight, add a lot of weight to a spacecraft, so I try not to add batteries whenever I can and just add solar panels. So since we can't do anything else, I think we'll go ahead and we're just going to time warp until we hit the atmosphere. And once we hit the atmosphere, we'll slow it down so it'll slow down by itself, and we will watch our little probe burn up in the atmosphere. Or smash into somebody's house, whichever way it works. In real life, though, this happens a lot more than what people think. You know, satellites, their orbits decay, and you know, whoever owns the satellite decides it's not worth keeping up there because it's obsolete or what have you, and they just let it, you know, slowly come back into the atmosphere and burn up. Luckily, most of the planet is ocean, so it ends up burning up somewhere over the ocean, and whatever's left ends up just splashing down and sinking to the bottom of the ocean where it doesn't hurt. But I do recall a story of Skylab, which was an old space station. Parts of it actually landed in Australia, and I believe the Australian government wasn't too happy about having American space junk land on their country. This thing here can take quite a bit of punishment. We're slowing down enough now to where the aero forces on this aren't going to cause it to heat up as much, and it's not going to... The rest of this probably is not going to end up burning up. It's just going to smack into probably a mountain or something. Although it's kind of hard to tell because it's dark, but it looks like we're over an ocean right now, so it might just splash into an ocean somewhere. Alright, here we come in. Yep, we're coming in over a mountain range. It looks like a volcano or something over there. and we're going to crash on land. Now, if this were to happen in real life, there'd be a whole bunch of issues. There'd be special recovery teams come out with hazmat suits to clean up all the any toxins or anything that may have leaked out from when this crashed. Also, special black helicopters to recover any aliens that may be hitching a ride. Alright, so we're going to try and speed this up a little bit. Because nobody just wants to sit here and watch a probe just slowly crash into the ground. Okay, so there was that. Okay. Got that for escaping the Earth's atmosphere. And we broke a bunch more records. We broke a speed record of over 250 meters a second. Broke a land distance record of 1,000 meters. 7,000 meter broken altitude records. So we did. I believe we made money on that one, even though we didn't get any signs from any of our science experiments, but that's okay, you can't win them all. And we will revert back to the space center. Okay, and I think we'll go ahead and end it here. It's been about a half hour. We got one ship up into space, and you know, we'll be seeing more of this. So, thank you guys for stopping by and watching. Thank you future people for watching this. If you liked what you see here, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new here and you like what you see, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell next to it so you know the next time I'm on. I also stream with some really great guys, Mr. Moondog88, Zigzaggy. You can. I'm going to try and remember to put links to both to their channels down in the description. Also, make sure you check out Farmer Dad, Cavalier Roy, Bipolar Prophet. They're all members of what we call the Monkey Show. They're great guys. They make really great videos. So make sure you check them out. And thank you very much for stopping by, and I will catch you all later.